Are you ready? Well, good morning. Going to make some southern buttermilk biscuits this morning. Now, my last video, I made my recipe was gluten-free. My wife has sensitivity to gluten, so I made a gluten-free biscuit, and it's an outstanding biscuit. It's very tasty, but this recipe is going to be a little quicker, and for you gluten lovers, you're going to like it. Now, I don't like to do a lot of talking, so I want to get right to it. We only have, these are our primary ingredients. We have self-rising flour, and I prefer the King Arthur. You can use other flours, but I think this is the premier in flour. You want to make sure it's self-rising flour. The self-rising got all that good stuff in there to make it rise. Got to have a little peanut oil, and we're going to use buttermilk. And I've got some homemade kefir. I got a little extra, so I'm going to add some of that. Kefir really helps things rise too, but buttermilk's fine. You just use buttermilk. I'm going to use a little butter at the end to kind of make it taste a little buttery. Now I'm using organic salted butter. You can use Earth Balance if you prefer a butter alternative. You can use that. Also, we're going to need a mixing bowl. I've got a biscuit cutter, and I use this cast iron skillet. Now this cast iron skillet, I only cook breads in it, biscuits and cornbread primarily, because it's so porous. I get best results with a cast iron skillet. This is a 9-inch. I'm sure this recipe would work good in other types of pans or dishes, but I think I always get the best results in cast iron. Now this is a 9-inch cast iron skillet, and my recipe is adapted to fill this for this 9-inch because I don't like a lot of waste. So let's just get right to our procedure here. We're going to use 2 cups. Got it measured out. 2 cups of the self-rising flour. And what I normally do is I create a little hole right there, a little well right in the middle, and I start adding my flour, my buttermilk into there until I get the right consistency. So let's go ahead and get that. I already got flour on my, what you call this thing?
Cutting board.
Cutting board, thank you. And so I'm going to go ahead and mix up the flour. This is a really quick recipe. I don't really have time to, I do a lot of other things, so I really don't have time to spend a lot of time cooking. But I want my food to taste good, and I want that taste. So we'll go ahead and mix this up and get it the right consistency. And I start out with a 1/2 cup. See, I don't normally measure my milk. My buttermilk, I just put it in there till I get the right consistency. My wife said, hey, you need to measure that stuff so that people get an idea of how much you're going to put in there. I think it's going to take way more than a half. Let's go ahead and add that. That's a 1/2 cup right there. Just put that in there and mix that up. Let's put a little more milk. Let me go with a little kefir too. Let's put a little kefir. I'm going to put some of that in there. And I'm only putting this in there because I've got a little extra, and I didn't want to waste it. So, that's about a 1/3 of a cup. So I'm going to go with the 1/3 of a cup mixing. This is kefir. Homemade, good stuff. Good for your gut. It's also good for putting in biscuits. Let's just go with it. So that makes, what, 2/3? Normally, I just pour it in there till I get the right consistency. So this is slowing me down a little bit. Another 1/3. Put that in there. If I get it a little wet here, I can always, knocked a little bit out of the bowl. If I get a little wet, I can always put more flour in it. Not a big deal. So let's get this. That may be enough right there. So that's almost, I'd say about 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk and kefir that I put in here. Let's just go. I think that might do it, because I want to get all this flour mixed into my mixture here. Okay, it's looking good. I did wash my hands, so So I'm going to use my hands. Always wash my hands. Probably wash them too much. That's looking good. Now your gluten, your wheat, is actually a lot easier to work with than if you're working with gluten-free flours. So what I want to do is put it on my roller here, on my cutting board, and kind of work that in to get it. There we go. Now with gluten, you can kind of work that flour a little bit, you know, and it works a lot better. Now with this gluten-free, I don't do all this. It's wet right now, it's sticky. I want to try to get that stickiness out of it. Not that critical. You can take a rolling pin, make it smoother. Now, at this point, let me wash my hands off a little bit. We want to pour a little bit of oil into our, normally I do this before I even start the process, but I didn't do it because I want to show you how this goes. I usually put about I don't know if it's about 1/8. You pour a little bit of peanut oil into your pan. You want it covered. You want to cover it good. If you don't get enough in there, you can always. What we're going to do is when we cut our biscuits out, we're going to coat both sides of this, of the biscuit. Here we go. Take that and we're going to coat it like that. This is fine eating when you get it done. Make sure they're coated with oil. A lot of people cut butter or whatever, or the Crisco oil into their biscuits, and I find this is much easier to, this is a lot less work if you do it this way, and it's going to give you a good biscuit in the end. Alright, I got to take this dough that I've got and kind of reshape it so fill up what, there's a piece there. Alright, normally it fills up the whole pan. I may not have enough dough here. Let me see. Which is okay. There we go. And while you're doing this, you want to heat your oven to 450. Get it hot because it's going to need to be preheated prior to doing this. Now as you see, I'm a little short. Normally I'm making these biscuits a little bit more, they're a little bit higher, going to be a little thicker, so that's why I ran out of. You get too much oil in there, like I think I might have, I'm going to soak some of that up. Okay, we're ready to stick these babies in the oven. Now, I'll wash my hands off again. Oven's already preheated. We'll put them in there. 450. I might set my oven at 445 because it runs a little hot. And we're going to bake. I'm going to set my timer for 16 minutes. Start time. So I've started my time at 16 minutes. Now, while I'm waiting on the biscuits to cook, what I'll do is clean up my area, and at this time I will melt my butter. So see you back in 15 minutes. Well, our 16 minutes is almost up. We're in the final countdown. In the meantime, I cleaned up my mess that I made, melted my butter, and I made myself a cup of coffee. So, the biscuit will be cooked and we got about 20 seconds. And on the while it's counting down, the buttermilk, I think we used about a cup, but you know, add the buttermilk till you get the right consistency in the flour. If it's too dry, always add a little more buttermilk. If it's too wet, you can always add flour. Not a big deal. So we're going to see. Oh, there we go. It's ended. I'm going to turn that off for right now, and I'm going to put my broiler on high. So I'm going to take my biscuits out. Wow, look at that. Now, food not only has to taste good, it's got to look good. So what I want to give it a nice buttery taste, and let's pour some butter on there. This is good old organic butter. You know, you gotta make it taste good. And then we're gonna put the color on the top. We're gonna broil it. We got our broiler on high. Let's just use all of that. I'm gonna throw it back. I'm gonna put it back in the oven. And now, when you're broiling it, you gotta watch it, because if you leave it too long, it's gonna get real dark. So I want to kind of brown off the top of it, because we want a kind of a crust on the top. Not too much of a crust, but a little bit of brown crust on the top. And then when we cut it open, we want to have that soft textured biscuit. These biscuits also, I'm the only one in the house who eats gluten biscuits. So what I'll do is I'll eat one now, and then I'll freeze the rest. And they're good for several weeks, you know, month. You can go pop you one in the microwave and defrost it, or cook it in the microwave a little bit, and hey, it's ready, and it tastes good. I don't have any problem doing that. So right now we're just going to broil this a little bit, and so you can go ahead and stop the video, and when it's time, I'll pull them out and show you what they look like. Okay, let's check our biscuits out. I've had them on broil for a couple minutes. All right, they're looking pretty good. They got to look good. And now everybody's got their own taste. I like mine about this color, and you might want it lighter or darker. Anyway, I'm gonna dump them in the pan. Still got a little butter ooze in there. All right, and wow, these are going to be great. Look at that biscuit. Woo! What I'll do is they're real hot right now. I'm gonna let these cool down a tad, and look at that right there. Woo! Ain't that look good? Let's let them cool, and in a few minutes after they cool a little bit, I'll show you what they look like on the inside, and I'll even sample one. Get a look at these beautiful biscuits. If you see anything that looks so good. I'm gonna take one. Look at that. Now ain't that a pretty biscuit? Let's cut it. Okay, it looks good. Let's see if it tastes good. Let me cut it open. Whoa, look at that. Whoa. Man, that looks good. Soft in the center. So what I'm gonna, I gotta try this. So let me get a little butter here. Let's add a little more butter to this thing and see what we got here. Oh. Put that right there. Whew. I tell you what, it don't get no better than this. Now this is it's a quick biscuit. That is awesome, if I say so. It's quick, it's easy. You put your piece of sausage or bacon or ham in that, or a little jelly, you got something mighty fine. So I hope you can try this recipe and get the same results I did. Awesome biscuit, quick and easy, and that's what it's all about. Southern buttermilk biscuit, quick and easy. Tastes so good, and it won't hurt you. I'm 70 years old, take no meds, been eating this stuff all my life. I'm a living testament to junk food and Southern food. Have a nice day. I'm getting ready to have me a sausage and biscuit. Bye.